This is an all-day live alert.
Hi there, everyone. I'm Tim Blotz. Any moment now, Governor Tim Walz is going to be talking about the new child tax credit. Starting with the 2023 tax year, eligible parents may qualify for a child tax credit of $1,700 for each qualifying child. Now, this is new to Minnesota, and the state wants taxpayers to be aware of this, especially now as they start filing their taxes. So let's listen in. The governor is just about ready to approach the podium with Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and we'll join in, and so you can listen in when this gets started. Here we go.
I think that says something about the word getting out. Yeah, we wouldn't have expected, I don't think, to see that number. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Usually not the thing that gets us most exciting. It's tax filing season. But in this building, it's an exciting time. To Executive Director Miranda, thank you. Thank you for, and to all of the volunteers that we got a chance to meet. An incredible service that's offered by numerous organizations across Minnesota. I believe I was told this is the largest one in doing this work, of providing free tax filing for Minnesotans. And you'll hear a little bit more about the specifics of doing that. An incredible opportunity to make sure that you've got experts down there. And it was really encouraging to see the volunteers, because it's a very Minnesota thing. We volunteer, we donate to charity at almost the highest rates in the country. And listening to a gentleman down there said, I was 37 years over at Cargill working over there, and he said, and now this I consider to be that equal amount of work and importance of what I'm doing, and it's great to see them down there. I have to tell you, this ability to make sure that Minnesotans get a fair opportunity with their taxes is absolutely critical, making sure everyone, regardless of where they're at, socioeconomic or whatever their circumstances, starting a small business or if you're a senior citizen, making sure you the opportunity to claim all the benefits that you have to make sure it's filed correctly. We're here today to highlight one of those that I think Lieutenant Governor, myself, Commissioner Marquardt, and I would argue a vast majority of Minnesotans consider to be one of the most important things that we did the last legislative session. That was the child tax credit. We saw during the pandemic, when the federal government moved on the child tax credit, we saw the largest movement of children out of poverty that we've seen in our nation's history. It was a massive shift of folks moving out of poverty, children specifically. That expired at the federal level, but we in Minnesota picked it up and beefed that thing up, and we have the best child tax credit in the country. But here's the thing. You have to file your taxes to get it. Up to $1,750 per child under the age of 18 with no limit on that. Commissioner Marquardt will talk about where some of that phases out, but I think it's really, really critical here. We have folks that don't file their taxes because they don't have to. They're at the threshold, maybe they don't have to for whatever reason, but if you don't file the taxes, you're not able to access the child tax credit. And so with the partners like we're seeing here today, you have that opportunity, and it's free tax preparation, and it makes sure that you get this into your hands. So I have to tell you, for the folks at Prepare and Prosper, we are grateful for that volunteer spirit. We're grateful for the ability to reach out. And I think if there was a question of how this thing would be received, the commissioner handed me January's totals, I guess it would be, or the first week. 1 week, 48,000 claimed the child tax credit. 25% of all returns that were in during the week for $61 million and an average credit of $1,253. That is music to our ears. That is what takes children out of poverty. That's how we get to reducing childhood poverty in Minnesota by 1/3. And if this works right, by the end of the year, Minnesota should have the lowest childhood poverty rates in the entire country. We're already in the top 5. That's going to translate into kids going to school, where, by the way, they're eating meals for there, and the opportunity to be able to learn, to be able to prosper, to be able to thrive in Minnesota. So I have to tell you, this is exciting news. It wouldn't happen without this. There has been a concerted effort, and you're going to hear from him in a little bit. The Lieutenant Governor and I tasked the Commissioner of Revenue with also being our chief spokesperson on our public service announcements to build the coalition around these incredible organizations, over 170 of them like you're seeing here for Prepare and Prosper, that do this work and get them all focused on this. I would argue these numbers show it's working very well. So congratulations with that, and then you'll get to hear from some of the volunteers here who do the work. And with that, I'm going to turn to Lieutenant Governor Flanagan.
Thank you. Those numbers are so exciting, and Governor, I'm so glad that you shared those. And happy tax season to everyone. And I know, again, right? Maybe there's like some laughter here. But what incredible numbers and what good news for Minnesota families. I am so hopeful. And just like, this tax season is unlike any other tax season in history, thanks to our nation-leading child tax credit. And Linda R. downstairs, one of the volunteers, said it's a big hit so far. So that's what we like to hear. We think there are nearly 300,000 Minnesota families who are eligible for this tax cut, and we want to ensure that 100% of families who are eligible receive this tax cut. This goal might sound ambitious, but I believe that we can spread the word and get it done. I told the governor that I would be willing to wear a sandwich board all across the state if that's what it would take to make sure that people are filing their taxes. But it turns out Commissioner Marquardt has a better plan to help spread the word. But not only are there free volunteer tax preparers that are ready and excited to help you in person or online, but filing your taxes will actually help you to save money through programs like the child tax credit. And even if you aren't legally required to file taxes, you can still be eligible for the child tax credit, which is why it is so important for us to spread the word. Or if you've never filed before, this is the year to start. Growing up, it was programs like this one that helped provide economic stability for my family. So I understand just how important it is that Minnesotans receive the support that they need and deserve. And I would also say this, as a mom of an 11-year-old who literally within 1 month went from a size 5 shoe to a size 7 shoe, that's real. Right? We also had a flat tire a couple of weeks ago. We had a little basement flooding. It's been an interesting few months. For our family, we can afford those little, bumps along the way. Growing up, my family absolutely would not have been able to afford those little bumps along the way. And so this is real money that's going to provide stability for families. And we know with just an extra $1,000 for families that we increase child outcomes, we increase brain development, we increase achievement. It is a win-win-win in the short term for families and in the long term for the state of Minnesota as a whole. So I'm so grateful to the media who are here covering this really important story, because we're going to need to continue to tell this story all across the state of Minnesota so that folks are filing their taxes, they're receiving this benefit, and kids across the state of Minnesota have an opportunity to thrive. So I am super excited about it. And with that, I am really happy to introduce our commissioner, but really our commissioner is a teacher. That is how he approaches so much of this work, teaching Minnesotans, about what is possible, teaching us, right, as well. But so grateful for your commitment to children and families. And so, Commissioner Marquardt.
Well, there's not much for me to do when you have the state's top 2 cheerleaders right here, Governor Walz and Governor Flanagan, really making the call. And this is so important. Thank you, thank you. Thank you. This is always an important time for families, because Minnesota has a very beneficial tax code for families, but especially this year with the nation-leading child tax credit, which was a huge priority for the governor and lieutenant governor. And it is really for families a game changer. When you talk about $1,750 per kid, no limit of kids, totally refundable and permanent. And some might say, well, you've got an income level of $35,000 for married joint filers, $29,500 for single to get the full credit. But it phases out relatively slowly. And if you have a family with 4 kids, that phase out doesn't occur until about $95,000 income. So what I say to families is, you might think, well, I don't know if I qualify or not. Find out. There's a good chance that you do, because that's going to be a key. If we're going to hit the 33% child poverty reduction that Columbia University says this credit will attain, we've got to have everyone who can qualify to do that. And we were at an early meeting this year, and we were kind of saying out of that 300,000 that was mentioned that we would do 95%. The governor and lieutenant governor has said about 3 times or more at this one meeting, it's 100%. So we are now doing 100% is the goal to hit that. But if you are a family and you have not filed before, because that's the key, you have to file a return to get the credit. And if you haven't done that and you just say, I don't know, I've never done it, so forth, that's exactly why Prepare and Prosper and the other 170 free tax preparation sites, that's why they're there, to try to make it as seamless, as easy, as painless, as stressless as a tax return can do. But that's why they're here. And so if you don't know, contact the department, contact the tax preparer. We will help you through that. We want to make sure that you can benefit from that. And I will end with this. Just a huge thank you to Prepare and Prosper and all of the volunteers around the state who participate in this program, because you're not just helping a tax filer file their taxes, you are helping lower child poverty. You're helping to improve the quality of life for families in the state of Minnesota overall. So with that, I'd like to introduce the Executive Director of Prepare and Prosper, Executive Director Miranda. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So, like I was just introduced, my name is Suyapa Miranda, the Executive Director of Prepare and Prosper, and first thing I want to do is thank our Governor, Tim Walz, and Peggy Flanagan. And it's so incredible to have you here, and I've just recognizing our VITA volunteers all across the state of Minnesota, not just here in Prepare and Prosper, and just thank you so much. PNP is committed to empowering economic opportunities by building financial well-being through free tax prep and financial and coaching services. Last year, we served nearly 9,000 families in collaboration with our 7 partners around the Twin Cities. Prepare and Prosper believes that everyone deserves to have access to financial wellness, economic, wealth-building opportunities regardless of income. We are committed into breaking barriers and building better financial futures for our services. Our volunteers are critical to Prepare and Prosper. They are literally the backbone of our organization. It would be impossible for us to serve as many families that we do if we didn't have them by our sides. We are grateful for the returning VITA volunteers who share their expertise and knowledge, and for all the new volunteers who are willing to learn about tax services and prep. We also open our doors to immigrant populations and former customers with no experience needed. The only prerequisite that you need is curiosity and a willingness to make a difference in people's lives. I want to thank our staff who coordinate, recruit, train, and help support our volunteers on a daily basis. As the first woman and the first person of color to ever lead Prepare and Prosper, I know generationally with my own family and experiences that the importance of having safe and welcoming environments is just as important as doing tax services here today. And we know from all of our families that every single dollar counts, with their tax credits and refunds and everything that is owed to our communities and families. I can't thank you again for being here and just being in our space. It's so incredible. And recognizing and Prepare and Prosper and all the tremendous value that our VITA volunteers bring here to the state of Minnesota. We have nearly 360 volunteers at Prepare and Prosper. And I'd love to introduce you to one of our volunteers and former board members, Mark Nolan. He's been a part of our organization for over 10 years. And another piece is that he also specifically dedicates his time to serving an underserved communities and population within the Urban League. And this is the site he chooses to go to. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. I'd like to thank everybody for showing up. This is something that's much needed, good publicity for Prepare and Prosper. It's just a warm feeling being a volunteer for such a wonderful organization. When you see customers, they leave the door, oh, my taxes are done. You know, I mean, numbers are intimidating, and you know, and you consider the income limits that we deal with. You know, single, 40,000 and under, married, 60,000 and under. But I encourage everybody to come in. Minnesota is one of those states, as far as getting credits. You know, we helping families now with the new child care. You know, the child care credit. You know, we provide, you know, renters rebates. Even if you're just on Social Security, you have rebates. Come on in. We'll make sure you get a refund. And it's a great organization to work for. I encourage we get more volunteers. I mean, one of the beautiful things is, I mean, I'm a baby and I'm still with only 10 years. There's many more volunteers. I encourage young people to come help volunteer. Schools, you know, reach out, because, you know, eventually we have a lot of our volunteers, they are retired, so unfortunately they're going to be falling off. We're going to need more people to help more people that for a need that we have, you know, socioeconomic. I mean, I'm raised single. My mom was single. I bet she didn't make more than $12,000 a year. You think, you know, you live paycheck to paycheck, but this is a game changer for parents with kids, and you know, and there's people with multiple kids. And I heard somebody tell a story earlier, they knew somebody that had like 9 kids. So I encourage, come and pay your taxes, even if there's no income. I mean, we can help you. We offer prep services. You know, we're associated with Sunrise Bank, Fair Banking. You know, we can do something for you so you don't have to pay fees, because that's just another thing that that's an issue with people. Like I said, I encourage you to use Prepare and Prosper. You know, I have friends that work at H&R Block and Jackson Hewitt, and, you know, we debate all the time. It's like, you're not servicing the need of the people who need it the most. And we've even had people come to us that have had their taxes done by them incorrectly. So, you know, you come to us, we train. I mean, I've worked for a number of employers, and the training that is here is outstanding. You know, it may be computer training, in-person training, and we won't put you out in front of a customer until you're ready to go. So I encourage everybody to Prepare and Prosper. As they said, these credits that we're getting, I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, you can go to any other state, you will not see anything like this. It's unbelievable. So I thank you for your time, and thank you for the PR for Prepare and Prosper. I love them. I've worked for other nonprofits, but this is the real deal. Thank you. Thank you.
That's great stuff. Great stuff.
Well, before we take a couple questions, I would like to do one thing on behalf of those thousands of VITA volunteers, the 170 plus sites that you see listed. You can go online and find those. We'll have the folks from Prepare and Prosper receive this for all of them. State of Minnesota proclamation. Whereas free tax preparation sites are available to people with annual incomes less than $64,000, a disability, limited English proficiency, or who are over the ages of 60, which I will be by that time. So free tax preparation sites rely on dedicated volunteers who undergo extensive training and generously donate their time and skills to assist individual families navigate tax season with accuracy and confidence. In 2023, volunteers at nearly 200 free preparation sites prepared nearly 50,000 state income tax returns and helped return over $15 million in tax refunds to people. Many people who qualify for free tax preparation assistance may be eligible for the new child tax credit, a nation-leading tax credit that could cut childhood poverty up to 33% in Minnesota. Minnesota commends tax preparation volunteers for their service to their communities and recognizes the impact they make in fostering financial literacy and supporting the economic well-being of people across the state of Minnesota. Now, therefore, I, Tim Walz, Governor of Minnesota, do hereby proclaim February 2024 as Volunteer Tax Preparer Appreciation Month. Yay. There you go.
You have a place to put that?
Yeah. We'd be glad to answer some questions. You've got some experts here.
How much is this going to cost in the state budget? And given the popularity of it so far, is it likely to stay within whatever was budgeted last session?
Budget 100%.
So at 100%, the revenue estimate, remember, was about $400 million per year.
It'll stay within 400 million, or could it go?
Well, okay, that is an estimate. We're estimating about 300,000 families are eligible to participate, and at an average, actually the average amount that I saw at 1,253 is kind of, I think, right pretty close to what the average was expected. And so, I mean, it's early yet, but everything about $400 million a year.
I'm going to rephrase that. It did not cost the state of Minnesota. It saved the state of Minnesota in a tax cut for folks to go to that, so the return to them. Anyone else?
Governor, if I could just ask you, what's the best way for people to know if they qualify under the phase out? Because there are a lot of people looking.
All right, we've been watching a news conference with Governor Tim Walz and Lieutenant Governor Flanagan outlining the brand new child tax credit of up to $1,750 for qualifying families. And we'll have more on this coming up tonight on Fox 9 News at 9. In the meantime, Fox 9 All Day starts in 60 seconds.
You're watching Fox 9 All Day.
Thanks so much for joining us for All Day on Fox Local. I'm Tim Blotz. Happening today, Minnesota's highest court is hearing an appeal in a high-profile road rage murder case. Our Bill Keller has more from St. Paul on the oral arguments that the Minnesota Supreme Court is being asked to consider.
15 months after he was sentenced to life in prison, the 36-year-old gunman now wants his conviction overturned, an appeal that is being taken up by the state Supreme Court. Jamal Smith was found guilty of first-degree murder for the drive-by shooting that killed a youth baseball coach. The victim, Jay Boughton. It happened as he drove his son home after a baseball game. Police say it was on 169 in Plymouth in July of 2021. It happened after an encounter on the highway. The Chicago native, indicted by a grand jury, ultimately convicted of the first-degree murder charge. During his oral arguments this morning, the justices are being asked to consider three main arguments from Smith's defense team. First, was he